It could not have been more evident when Finance Minister Tito Mboweni stated that the gantries need to remain, and this in direct contrast to Gauteng Premier and the ANC chair in Gauteng, David Makhura's plans of ditching them. While the organisation undoing tax abuses, Wayne Duvanage will join us shortly, but first, let's take a listen to this.
Government remains committed to the user pay principle because it is the most efficient and effective way to ensure that the direct benefits of services are paid for by those who use them directly.
Let there be no confusion. No one must confuse us. We stand by the resolution of our conference. The e-tolls are not part of the future of this province. We will work out how to pay the debt of fixing those roads, but the e-tolls are not part of that future.
Well, as I earlier indicated, OUTA's Wayne Duvanage joins us now. Wayne, thank you very much for your time. Even more confusion after this week. Just a day before the sentiments by David Makhura, you had the Finance Minister saying you should basically pay. More confusion.
Yeah, well, the Finance Minister is not the first minister to say that e-tolls are here and everybody must pay. I think 6 transport ministers and 3 or 4 finance ministers, this is at the national level, have continued to beat this e-tolls is here to stay drum. Whereas everybody else in Gauteng, or 75% of people who are using the roads are not paying, and the ANC here and the DA and everybody, all political parties are dead against it. So here's national government trying to usurp and force a very unjust and unpopular decision onto the public, and they refuse to accept it.
You know, I was just thinking back this morning, given the sentiments that were shared by the two, how in contrast they are to each other. In light of the investment conference that we've just had, what kind of impact do you think, if you would find the sentiments of the Finance Minister go ahead, that the gantries are here to stay, what kind of impact do you think this could have on the way that Gauteng does business? Because there's been a lot of sentiment shared about how, you know, motorists in Gauteng do not want to pay for the e-tolls themselves. Well,
this was a scheme that was always flawed. It was always going to fail. Our research showed that when you try and introduce a scheme that is grossly irrational, unjust, very expensive, in an environment where the administration is always going to be difficult. It relied on e-notice, which was 50% incorrect. It relied on an efficient postal service. So the scheme has failed from day one. I think they got to maximum 40%. And I think the learning here, which government doesn't seem to want to digest,
the impact,
is that you cannot put irrational laws into being and just think, well, if we have a law, then the policy will work. It doesn't work. So the impact has been an extremely successful standoff and a civil disobedience campaign that has sent a message to government, but they still haven't got the appetite. They really just don't know how to pull the plug on this scheme.
What next then? Because you've been speaking out for the longest time now against these e-tolls. We're still getting conflicting messages from those in power. But what next now? Because obviously motorists want to know. I was going through your Twitter page as well. You've been tweeting quite extensively since we had the two individuals speak on this particular issue. And there seems to be no clarity. Motorists are saying that they don't know what to do now. But I know you're not a political analyst, but I want to ask, we know that one of the dissenting voices that came across from voters, for example, in Gauteng, was the issue of the e-tolls, where they basically had demonstrated their power via the ballot box over the issue of e-tolls. What kind of impact do you think this would have? I mean, you've been interacting with motorists. You're not a political analyst, but I'm just trying to gauge your view on that.
No, we watch it very closely. If you look at the 2014 elections, 9% drop in the Gauteng province to just up to over 54%. The biggest drop in all the provinces at that time. If the e-tolls are still around next year, when the elections come around May, this will be a noose around the ANC's neck here. So we believe it's going to have a massive impact. But you asked the question, well, what happens going forward? We say that it doesn't matter what the government says, whether e-tolls is here, they can beat this drum. The lights are on and they're billing people, but nothing's being paid. So in effect, they're not tolling. It's not working. So, you know, they can continue to do so. The public must just continue to be resilient and stand their ground, and government will have no choice but to pull the plug, and very, very soon. We believe they will before the elections.
Duvanage, thank you very much for your time, particular on a Saturday evening. Thanks a lot for joining us.